Remember what I said about all that enthusiasm and energy? Can I hear a little bit of it right now?
Yes!
Oh, that's how it should be. Again, I'm Perry Nemra from Collider, and it is such an honor to be here tonight celebrating Arcane with you. In particular, celebrating the show's 2 Emmy nominations for Outstanding Animated Program and Outstanding Sound Editing for an Animated Program. Huge deal. So excited for them, and I'm so excited to introduce you to 2 of the wonderful folks behind this show. We have co-creator, executive producer, and screenwriter Alex Yee. Congratulations. And now, please join me in welcoming screenwriter and co-executive producer Amanda Overton.
Yes!
Congratulations. First off, congratulations on the show and the very, very well-deserved Emmy nominations. Huge feat, and I love seeing it happen. Neither of you know this about me, but I like big 2-part questions, and I'm going to start with one that definitely crossed my mind that became a top priority to ask. Jumping into crafting the story arcs for season 2, which particular character's storyline came the easiest to you, where it almost came to you and the team fully formed, but then I also want the opposite, the character storyline that took the most workshopping to get right?
Wasn't the easiest Mel?
Yeah, Mel was pretty easy. I mean,
Echo in a way. Sorry, I am very experienced. No, but Echo fell into place because of a particular vision, with Fortiche. But yeah, Mel,
Because she was always born as from the very first scene we had her, it was about this legacy, could she be a Medarda? It was always a mother-daughter story with her. And so just the entire way through, we were like, is she gonna be the wolf or is she gonna be the fox? So, I think her having to choose the wolf at the end was kind of always in our minds, right?
That's true. I think honestly, it's tricky to answer because all of these characters, their storylines affect every other storyline, in terms of just how you try and weave everything together. And, in building it for the greater IP and in thinking of other stories, there's a lot of work in figuring out enough to know about, so the background, the families, and the other connections, and kind of future story potential. What you see is just a piece of it.
Speaking of how much they overlap, makes me want to throw in this question. As you're crafting this storyline where all the characters kind of intersect, is there any particular character, especially in season 2, that wound up being a more instrumental part of the overall story than you 2 ever imagined when you first started working on the show?
There's a bunch. Warwick.
Isha?
Well, yes, definitely Isha. That is true. Yeah, I think it was early on in taking a look at the season 2 story that Arnaud, who is of the trio of the French directors, he's kind of like the fun story guy. He had this this vision of a relationship, with Jinx, where she would get to experience, I guess, having a little sister, and I think that grew more broadly into a bridge back to family that I think, wove really well into the overall plot.
Yeah, I think we were just trying to put Jinx in Vi's shoes, because a lot of their arc, Jinx and Vi's arc in this second season, is Vi has to start seeing Jinx as an adult, not her little sister anymore. And so part of the way we did that was to role reverse with Jinx, so she had to be the big sister. She hadn't learned what it was like to be Vi and how much Vi worried for her. And then we got to see Vi, from Vi's perspective how that made her see Jinx as an adult. And so then she had to trust her choices and accept what she wanted instead of putting her own sort of wants onto her little sister.
It was such an effective storyline that, like you said, impacts so many characters. So focusing on characters now, focusing on specific scenes, and again, big two-part question. From season 1, what was the single most difficult scene to see through to fruition, and how does it compare to the scene of season 2 that was the toughest to see through to the finish line?
I mean, I'm gonna go.
They're
with
all
the finale.
terribly difficult.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with the finale though. That one was. It was one of the few parts of the show where we went out to Paris and really just sat with the editor, almost like frame by frame, and really thinking through a lot of nuance and how to try and just tie up, all these series with these characters that we, fallen in love with, and there's so much going on, and so
To make every beat land like consecutively, and you feel this way, and then you're yanked that way, and then you feel that. That is just, it was so meticulous to get to that point. And then since this is a two-part question, I'll go back and answer the first part,
I'll take it.
which is, so I actually think also episode 9 in the first season, because
Yes.
remember, if you don't remember, Alex and I wrote a version of the last episode, which was similar to what you guys saw here, but it was meant to be for season 1. So obviously it was less elaborate and involved because there was less story arcs that had wound up. But we had a version where they went straight from Jinx bombing to everyone raiding the whole war happened right there. So, they decided, after that was written, that we needed to expand season 1. We were going to make season 2 all about the war and lead up to that and add a whole nother season. And then you guys had to go back and rewrite the 2 episodes at the end to accommodate that.
Yep, and we had to just figure out how to have something that would feel like a finale, for what we thought would be kind of like the cliffhanger moment leading into the finale, and it was interesting. There were a lot of ideas thrown around, and I think it was like almost like a later consideration to have something more intimate, like sort of like take things away from the splashiness of kind of so many of Jinx's other antics. And I don't know, it was really beautiful. I think Fortiche, that was another place where there was a lot of like really specific vision coming together.
Do you remember the vision they had? They pitched us some scene from a movie that I don't remember right now because it was 4 years ago. That they referenced. And I'm like, it's gonna be like this scene, and I watched that scene and I was like, that is fucked up.
Yeah. It was Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Yes.
That it was tough to watch that and be like, yeah, kind of like that. I think you guys, you're really seeing it though, right? They're like, yeah, it's gonna work. We're like, okay.
A lot of trust has gone into this relationship over the last, for you, 9 or 10 years now?
That is the amount of time that people remind me, yes.
Oh, I have 2 follow-ups. I'll follow up on that point first. Given how long you've been working on this, I feel like there's going to be a bajillion answers to this, but is there any specific thing you wound up accomplishing with the show that you 10 years ago would go like, my God, I never could have imagined we'd hit those levels with Arcane?
Everything.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think I could pick anything that doesn't feel like that, across the board, the every piece of it, the animation, the art, the 2D effects, the music, sound, I mean, like, there really wasn't a single discipline or portion of the show that I felt like not blown away by,
And everyone that we worked with, I think the commonality between us is like we just kept wanting to level up. So, if we did something first season, we're like, well, we can do more, better next season. Why not?
Oh, speaking of leveling up then, what is something you all learned about the animation process that this show required making season 1 that you could directly connect to making something specific happen in season 2 that was more ambitious?
All of the montages.
That's true. Yeah, I think we leaned into Fortitia's ability to, from the music videos, be able to sort of like tell a lot of story in an impressionistic way. And
In a short amount of time, in a
Yeah.
different stylistic choice. You're feeling so much and you're understanding so much about the story without even having to have words to it. And so, I had a mentor. Did Monica tell us this in the first season? Who was like, you got to be able to put 10 pounds of stuff in a 5-pound bag.
Yeah.
And we just stuck with that. And like, by the time we got to that season, we're like, let's put 50 pounds of stuff in this bag.
And also at the same time, I do think we learned how to leave room for things, Like I think there were a lot of places where after we developed a trust, it would be like, this is where, like the music is just going to, like carry a mood, or, this is a place where we really want 2D effects, to like take center stage. And so I think it was season 1 was about all of the disciplines kind of like discovering what they could do and how to work together, and season 2 was really thinking how to really just push things to the next level, right? Now that we had a sense of what could be accomplished.
Yeah, my favorite example of that was in episode 7 when I was writing the create the Z drive scene and O plus Echo and Powder fall in love. So that was like, I got to write like, this is what's gonna happen, and then if you saw the script, you're like, that's like a half a page, and I was like, yeah, it's gonna be great. Fortitia's gonna nail it. And then I get to be surprised by how good it is, you guys.
Forticia loves that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So good. I'm so happy for Reed. I just love him as an actor. I don't know if anyone else out there watched The Wilds, but it was a show that he was great in that ended too early. So when I watched that and it ended and I was all sad, but then I got more of him in your show, I was super happy.
And he's a great person.
Yeah, he really is. He's
Oh, yeah.
just genuinely always positive. Like I
Brings
feel
so
like
much
the way-
energy to everything and passion. He's like a true artist.
Yeah, the way,
Like a
the way
really
you
good
see him
heart.
in interviews, that's just him. He's just like that's a regular run into him kind of situation.
Well, I'll stick with your voice cast then. He's great and like, really like top tier casting across the board. Can you each name a particular scene from season 2 where something a voice actor did just kind of blew your minds in terms of how powerful that scene could be?
Again, lots of moments.
I think we asked a lot of our voice actors in particular, and like we asked a lot of our actors to be different than they were in season 1 and like radically different and still make us care about them or make us love them. I think Caitlyn in particular was a completely different character in season 2 and just so controlled by her grief, and like Katie just had such a line she had to walk there. And she just, she would come into every session just like ready to go all out.
Yeah, I mean we were definitely spoiled, with the cast.
Yeah.
So it's like when people talk about like who's your favorite voice actor? What was the best voice actor? I'm like, it's an impossible choice, because there were so many moments where not only would they just bring stellar performances like in a short time.
Mick learning to sing for us, like
That's right. Yes. Oh, the Mick song, like that was actually really great. Yeah.
I could have a story about every single actor if we had time.
I'll take a couple more if you want.
So with Caitlyn in particular, for me, I think I spent a really long time on the last couple lines in the show, just because it was like, I don't know, how do you say goodbye? But we recorded pretty late, the line that is just like, are you still in this fight, and it was just one line, but like I sat with her for a while and was really just kind of like giving her really light, different accents, to put in it with different emotional spaces, different reflections on the season. And I feel like with so many of those takes, I was like, wow, it's stunning to me, how with just this little nuance, that you can just feel so much emotion. And, I don't know, I think that really feels descriptive of the greatest moments with so many of these actors.
Yeah, and Haley and Ella just knew their characters so well that it was like every take you're just like, and that could go in the show.
I'm going to come back to that ending in a little bit, but there's another question that I wanted to follow. I wanted to follow up on what you were saying about being in the room while they were editing the series finale. This is such a hyper-specific question. I don't know if you remember an answer, but sometimes when I edit things for fun, like nothing gives me chills more when you feel two pieces click together in like the perfect way. Is there a particular point in the finale episode where when you were there working with the editors, something just fell into place and it kind of scratched that itch for you?
It was honestly a process of really going all the way through the episode and finding those moments at just so many junctures, because it's really packed, with big collisions, big moments, a lot of twists and turns. And the tough thing is there's just so much in there, so that working at the timing, and there was a lot to it. And we were still trying out, like, as I mentioned, just maybe some light tweaks to the lines for the final episode, which again, I think Fortiche really loved about us at that point in time. Even recording, just sort of like temp for some of these lines and then tossing it in and just seeing like, oh, can we, bring a big meaning into, something a little bit tighter, so that we can try to fit everything. It was, the part I most remember, I think, is, the last moment with Vi and Vander Warwick, on the little piece of I don't know, ruin that's sort of jetting out, and that one, there was actually a lot going on there, and I think it was the point where we really felt like we were balancing the two sisters in that scene and like setting up, I guess, this final moment for Vi. That click felt like but it was also the last one that we had to finish, so it kind of just felt like we did it.
Here's another really big question, and kind of an unfair question, because I feel like you can come up with a million answers, because I know I personally can. Can you each pick your single favorite frame of this series?
No.
Can you give us one frame that you love, a frame?
I can tell you a frame that I think for me was a moment where I really felt just awed, like AWED, awed, by the attention to detail and the just pristine art. And it's kind of an arbitrary moment, but it was in 104, and it was a moment that, for me, it was really exciting to get to see this part of the story, because we're like, now we've jumped forward in time, so now it's like a little bit more, I don't know, like mature, a little bit more edgy, I guess. But when Caitlyn is sort of sighting her rifle in a scene, I can't remember who wrote it, but it's like there's a shot on a flower, like sort of a frozen flower, and they rack focus into her gun, and like that first frame, like looking at the flower with the rack focus, I was just like, I can't believe they're drawing this, it's just like, it was so sharp, and it really just, I don't know, even just the choices in camera work there, it's just like, it just brought this feeling of like, new age, new time, and then off on the hunt. So yeah, I like that.
Oh, I know exactly which. I feel like for some reason rack focusing in animation just like it wows me, and it makes me fully appreciate and see the weight of having so many layers in a particular frame. It's something else.
I think for me, it's selfishly in my episode, that frame when Vi jumps, she's parkouring down, because again, I wrote like, Vi parkours down the lanes, and it was like this long, and they made it into this spectacular sequence that's so fun. But when she jumps across, and there's that like kind of mural thing in the background, and then that was like in the trailer for the first time, and I'm like, I can't believe that like something I wrote something like so beautiful in a trailer, everyone's seeing it. I guess we're just kind of like clinging to like these first moments of like, it's alive.
Well, okay. Picking from your episodes, season 2, the hug. There's something about when the light comes up and there's the hug, you know.
Oh, yeah, I
That
cried
one-
every time.
That one hits every time, you know, like.
But I cried in the animatic every time.
Oh yeah, no, it
200
started in the
times.
animatic. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I don't know. The episode 5 was really, I don't know, a lot of emotion in that episode that they really nailed.
So much good stuff. All right, I let you two have a free for all with these first questions. Now I'm going to zero in on some specific things here. First high priority thing on my list is Caitlyn and Vi, and I got a couple questions about the two of them. Surprise, surprise. First one, I want to know about the kiss in episode 3. A couple questions about that kiss. First one, though, is can you kind of walk us through figuring out the right time in the series for that to happen? What was it about that moment and where they were at in their journey that made you know with certainty, like, this is the moment for that to occur?
So happy because usually I'm like, oh man, if only Amanda were here to answer this question.
I guess I could say a few things about that. Yeah. So for me, because we knew their relationship was going to be in game and that it was going to take the whole series to get to, you know, I really wanted them to kiss. And I like it when characters are doing either the right thing for the wrong reasons or the wrong thing for the right reasons, because then you want to watch more. You know, you're hoping, dear God, will they just do the right thing for the right reason? And you keep watching and you keep watching. And it feels very flawed and human to me. So in that we needed the kiss in the first time they kissed to be the right thing, but for the wrong reason. And so to me, like, I wanted to put it early on so that we could sort of cement the feelings that we had spent an entire season kind of bubbling up. And, you know, also because we knew that we were having a second season and we were going to make this arc last that long, I was like, don't put the kiss in the first season. We need to make everyone wait, which unfortunately I was like torturing people, sadly. But again, we got the reaction that we wanted because we, you know, you want when they finally do it to just to feel.
Yeah, it wasn't. It just wasn't right.
Yeah, well, because people were like, why didn't they kiss on the bed? And I was like, I mean, that was like sort of the first moment where they were able to let their guards down. And yeah, to us, it was like they just, you know, they needed to be in that moment.
Yeah, I think the walls with Vi, you know, pretty
Yeah,
big.
honoring her walls and stuff. So, yeah. So again, I think now you would hopefully from that kiss be like, God damn, that was good. But now I want it to be for the right reason, which is how they had to go through, you know, all the terrible hardships that they went through in order to forgive each other. You know, they each made so many mistakes this season. And, you know, I think a big question we asked is like, Christian always phrased it as who deserves who gets a second chance, which Vi gets to stay in the show. But I always thought about it as, you know, are your mistakes forgivable, like, or not? You know, what mistakes are unforgivable? And so we had everybody making mistakes that were, you know, were unforgivable, and then asked if they could be forgiven. And so that makes it hard for them to get together, and you get to the end, and if you can, you know, I think Vi had to forgive herself for hitting Powder in episode 3 and for abandoning her. She had to forgive herself for that, in the same way that Caitlyn had to forgive herself for doing the exact same thing to Vi in that moment, and then get to the end and find a place of forgiveness where they could then, you know, sort of embrace for the right reason, do the right thing for the right reason.
I wish I could have like a chart to pull up now of like a bar graph of the number of feedback emails that Amanda sent to Fortiche on scenes, because it would be like 2-3, you know, maybe per like take on some of the scenes, and then 8-10, you know, on episode 3 and episode 8. There's a focus, one might say.
Focus, yeah.
But it was always that everything needed to feel connected to the point in the relationship for the two of them, and that the sort of like, I guess, the emotional ping pong, that they were playing with each other needed to feel like the moments of inspiration were coming from the right character at the right moment. But Fortiche was like, she sent another email. I'm like, it'll be okay. She'll stop, probably.
I could trust them. Like, they also like added so much to that relationship. So many details. Like, the storyboard artists in both of those scenes and the directors just like poured themselves into those moments.
Yeah, I mean, they're fans over there too. So the animators, I think, were they had a lot of things that they were like, no, we're going to do this.
I'll stick with that a little longer. Can you tell us about some of those conversations? Because I think I also read somewhere that that particular shot is the longest one in the entire series, which I think is a beautiful choice.
Now I wish Bart was here to talk about this because he, I think, killed himself for like 3 months to get that kiss to look right, because it was so special and so important. And I don't know, do you remember more about that, Alex?
I do remember that you wanted to linger on that shot a bit longer, so the feedback may have hit home. I'm kidding around, honestly. Like, I think those scenes were important scenes. It was like, for everyone, it was something people just really wanted to nail, and so it was something that people were willing to put in the time to get it right. I think it was just that, for everyone, Amanda was sort of like the mascot of that in those scenes, because she really just took the flag and ran.
Thank you for letting me do that.
Well, I'll continue with your marathon there by jumping to episode 8 next, and I think that one is the most captured moment in Netflix history. So that is something else. What is it like? And that is a moment that fans have been waiting for a really long time. So what is it like crafting a scene like that, where it's not just giving it to fans to give fans that moment, but you're doing so with like grace and beauty, and you earn that point of their relationship?
Yeah, I mean, again, we get to really trust the storyboard artist on this, because she added so much to the process. But yeah, that is just, it got to be the point where, Vi, who had always put others before herself, she was a character for us that was told at a very young age that she had to protect the family and look out for other people before herself. And in that moment she had to, just before that, she had to recognize that her sister was an adult and that her sister could make her own choices, and she had to respect that, and she had to think about who am I and what do I want, for the first time, frankly, ever. And then we got to use that sort of action to take her character arc to that place by the end of the season. So yeah, and then everything that they added, just every single shot and frame of that was carefully crafted to tell you something about each of their characters and how they were forgiving each other and how they were forgiving themselves for all the mistakes that they had made this season.
I think there's also just this moment for Vi, just feeling like really nothing works. It's just kind of like all of her struggles, she just always winds up hitting the wall, and this moment for Caitlyn, when she just has this kind of like this little smile, right, and it's just kind of like you really think, I need all these people, it's just like, to me, it's the moment that Vi can finally feel like Caitlyn's back, and that the warmth is real, and I think just the release of that in that moment is just like,
yeah. And when Caitlyn arrived there, she expected Vi and Jinx to be gone and that she would never see them again, because she had let them go, because she loved her and she was going to let her go. So coming into that scene and getting the surprise that Vi is still there, it was also like a big moment for her.
Another question that pertains to the two of them, but also it's the end of your show. I am so curious about deciding to end your show with the line, "I am the dirty under your nails cupcake, nothing's gonna clean me out." Not only ending the show with that line, but also titling your finale episode that as well.
It was a line that we'd written for that episode, and it was in a different spot, but I don't know, there was something about it that just felt like Vi finally felt like she had a place, and felt right there, and yet it didn't let go of the thing that Vi was, and I think that's like, I don't know, it felt like it was that, and it was a story about kind of just the relationship between Piltover and Zahn, and also just, I don't know, just a feeling of like, that it can be a smile, I don't know, but it was a line that just Haley nailed, and something that I just think, again, like sort of a Vi's back feeling too,
All right, sticking with the end. Here's a question that I'm sure you've been asked many times, like many times, but I'm gonna hopefully put a little spin on it here. So I'm not just gonna ask you, is Jinx alive or dead? I want to know, why did it feel like the right move for you story-wise to end her story that way, and perhaps leave people wondering the answer to those questions?
I think there is a cost, to like it's not a story where everything just works out, and I think that cost is something that would be felt, and something that needs to be felt, so I will say that is why she is definitely definitely not dead.
I watched a lot of interviews to prepare for this. I was ready for that part of the answer. As we have to start winding down, and we're gonna wind down the Q&A part, but we have a couple cool giveaways for everybody in the audience, so you have that to look forward to in a moment. But some people who frequent these Collider screenings know that I like to make sure to squeeze this question in as often as possible. I love how in this industry we give each other awards. I think that's super cool and we should keep on doing that. But I find that very few people stop and say, like, good job to themselves as much as they should. So I want to know something specific each of you accomplished making this show that you are always going to look back on and say, you know what, I'm really proud of what I did there.
I mean, my 16-year-old self would have died to see the story between Caitlyn and Vi in a video game adaptation, because I love video games, in an animated thing. Like, yes, I probably would have known myself much sooner if I had seen something like this. So, that to me, and how many people have contacted me, how many fans have passionately told me that did make a difference to them, and it has made them accept themselves better. That to me means more than anything.
Beautiful answer.
I mean, ultimately, I guess I'm just glad that, like, at one point, I just was like, you know what, I'm just gonna go ask Christian if he wants to make a video team, and it's kind of a silly thing, but there's just been so many moments in my life where, like, I feel like I hit a point where I've just been, I don't know, plateaued or just kind of like stuck, and so often taking a wild leap, into something different is terrifying and difficult, and something that I don't do in a lot of cases, but I think I've found in a lot of cases that, like, if I start really thinking about the best leap, there's an opportunity there that, like, I guess can turn into something like this, but, like, it's a wild feeling, and I don't know, it's like my head is just, like, flooded with memories of just, like, hanging out with someone, talking through a moment, like, I don't know, looking at a prop, or, like, spending the 90th hour on a line, but it all comes together into, the story for us is the story of making it, and I think it is as rich, I hope, as the story feels for you guys. So, yeah.
Beautiful answer as well. Now I'm going to kind of ask you the opposite of that question, because you've won Emmys in the past, you got nominated twice here with season 2, and that is a very, very big deal, and it deserves to be recognized. And getting Emmy nominations can mean a variety of things depending on where you're at in your career, your personal life, the type of material you're trying to get in that spotlight. So right now at this moment, what does it mean to see Arcane recognized in that particular space?
For me, it just means that everybody loves the show as much as we love the show. I think Alex and I talk so much about us. We were the first fans. We wanted to make a show that we hadn't seen before that was for us. And then we've got to share that with the world. And the world shares that joy and passion. And again, like getting to connect with people who are similar or different from us over a show is pretty special.
Yeah, I think one of the differences between the season 1 and season 2 feelings is that season 1, it just felt so much like the test of what we've worked on. This time it feels more like a chance for all these teams to basically feel like the work that they've done and the chances that they've taken, and just the blood, sweat, and tears that they've poured into
10 years of their life, a lot of them, at these artists at Fortiche.
Yeah, that they're seen, and it's, for me, it's actually, like the Annies, I got to be there and really just support, the team. There was nothing that I was in danger of having to come up with words to say in front of people, which is so relaxing. No offense. But like just really getting to just be an audience member, right, and to sort of like root for them and feel all that pride, and watching people like even have these titles that they never had before, and be awarded. I don't know, it's a good feeling. Yeah.
It's a special thing. It's I don't think it always has to be like this, but as a fan myself, I think as a fan myself and someone who covers the award space considerably, one of the coolest things in the world is seeing a show like this amass an extreme and deeply passionate fan base, and then have that enthusiasm cross over with folks who work in the industry, your peers, and then some. So it's a really, really special thing when you have a show that kind of ticks all the boxes in that respect and brings so many people together. Now, I'm going to end with my greediest question of all, and I'll apologize in advance, but we all know there's been talk of spin-off series. I'm not going to ask you if one is happening or not. I'm going to give you two the green light power in this little safe space where we could just have fun and talk about it. If you could each snap your fingers and make a spin-off about a particular character, who would you choose and why?
Okay, but should we just tell them about the spin-off that like we totally had plotted out for?
Oh yeah, let's do it.
Okay, so what happens is Vi and Caitlyn, they're moving forward in their lives together. And for reasons that I can't explain, since Caitlyn is so wealthy, they get a rent control department. And Jinx, kind of, because it's a totally alternate universe, lives with them. And it's just really kind of like a
sitcom.
Three's
Yeah,
company,
3 camera
awkward,
sitcom.
You are joking. I would watch this in a heartbeat.
We have brainstormed several scenes of this spin-off. It's like, it's got like really compelling jokes, like whose hair is in the drain when it's pink, blue, black.
Big Brother Jay stops by.
That's right, yeah.
With the casserole.
We genuinely did, I think, spend like what could be considered real work time on this spin-off. But I mean, I think realistically, like the we know the game, right? There's a lot of characters, there's a lot of world, and for Christian and I, being able to feel like we deliver on a promise of players getting to see their champions like eye to eye, and actually get the sort of sense of like how they fit in the world, and what they look like when they're sharing like a tenement house or something is like I don't know, it's something. It's a passion, it's a goal, it's a feeling that we really want to fulfill, and if that happens to be what upcoming content would look like, well, that would be a big coincidence, I suppose.
You want to add?
In my fantasy land, we get 40-year-old Vi and Caitlyn going on a road trip throughout Runeterra. Yes! Shenanigans ensue.
It looked like you were gonna add something.
Who drives?
Oh shit.
How's that gonna work out?
That show would also have an epic soundtrack. I like to say Collider interviews are a place where we manifest things, so I hope we've just spoken all of this into existence. Before I let the two of you go, I think we got some giveaways. All right, so I'm putting the power in your hands right now. We got a couple things that we can give away, and I think the way we're gonna do it is if you wanna throw out a trivia question, first person to raise their hand with the right answer gets something. Don't ask you.